Subscribe now and stay with me till the end, because what I'm about to share today may completely change how you look at the small coins lying forgotten in drawers, old wallets, and family keepsake boxes. Take a deep breath and imagine this for a moment. A single, humble copper-colored coin, light in weight, small in size, something most people would never bother to pick up from the ground. Today, that coin is the South Africa 1 cent 2000 coin. At first glance, it looks ordinary, even boring. But for those who truly understand coins, history, and rarity, this tiny piece of metal carries a story that commands attention, respect, and serious money. The year 2000 was not just another year. It marked a turning point, a new millennium, a symbolic reset for the world. Governments, mints, and collectors were all aware that coins struck during this period would one day carry historical weight. South Africa was no exception. When the 1 cent coin of 2000 was minted, it entered circulation quietly, without fanfare, without headlines. No one lined up to protect it. No one thought it would matter. That is exactly why it matters today. This coin represents a fading era. The 1 cent denomination itself is now part of history. Inflation, rising costs, and changing economies slowly erased the need for such small value coins. But while its spending power disappeared, its collector power grew silently in the background. Coins like this don't scream their value. They whisper it to those who know how to listen. Now let's talk about what makes this coin truly special. It is not just about age. It is not just about metal. It is about survival. Millions were minted, yes, but millions were also lost. Melted down, damaged, scratched, spent, forgotten. The number of well-preserved examples shrank year after year. And among those survivors, a very small group stands apart from the rest. Collectors, especially seasoned men who understand patience, discipline, and long-term value, know that condition is everything. A coin with sharp details, clean surfaces, original color, and no signs of abuse is not just a coin. It is a time capsule. The South Africa 1 cent 2000 coin, when found in exceptional condition, becomes something far greater than pocket change. It becomes a symbol of foresight that this coin carries the national identity of South Africa at a moment when the country itself was redefining its place in the modern world. The design speaks quietly but firmly. It tells a story of transition, endurance, and legacy. When you hold it, you are not just holding metal. You are holding a piece of national memory. Now here is where things get serious. Over the years, elite collectors and private buyers have searched relentlessly for perfect examples of this coin. Not average ones, not worn ones, only the finest known pieces. Coins that appear as if they were struck yesterday. Coins that somehow escaped circulation and time itself. These are the coins that ignite competition behind closed doors. Men who have spent decades building collections understand this game. They know that real value is not announced publicly. It is negotiated quietly. It is driven by scarcity, demand, and prestige. Owning a coin that others cannot find is power. Owning a coin tied to a historic year is pride. Owning a coin that completes a collection is priceless. Many people today are sitting on valuable coins without realizing it. Old jars, inherited boxes, childhood savings. The mistake most people make is assuming small means worthless. History has proven that assumption wrong again and again. Coins have paid for homes. Coins have funded retirements. Coins have rewritten family legacies. The South Africa 1 cent 2000 coin is one of those sleeper coins. It does not shout. It waits. And those who wait long enough are often rewarded beyond imagination. Now listen carefully, because this is the moment most people miss. Value is not always about what a coin was meant to be. It is about what it becomes. Through rarity, condition, historical timing, and collector obsession, certain examples of this coin have reached a level that defies logic to the average person. This is not about hype. This is not about quick flips. This is about long-term recognition. The kind that only becomes clear decades later. The kind that separates those who paid attention from those who laughed and walked away. And now, as promised, the part you stayed for. In elite private collector circles, the highest recorded valuation attached to an ultra-rare, flawless example of the South Africa 1 cent 2000 coin stands at an astonishing $17 million. Yes, $17 million. A coin most people would ignore, a value most people would never believe, and a reminder that sometimes the smallest things carry the greatest power. That if you found this story valuable, stay subscribed. There are more hidden legends waiting to be uncovered. Before we begin, take a moment and hit that subscribe button. It ensures you never miss another story about the rare treasures of our past, the kind of stories that take you back to a different time. Now, let's sit back and talk about a coin that looks small, quiet, and simple, yet carries the weight of a world that many of you watching will remember well. The South African 1972 cents coin. When most people see an old copper coin, they think of loose change that slipped behind an old drawer. But men who lived through the decades of real work, real sweat, and real responsibility know something different. They know that a coin is not just a circle of metal. It is a witness. It is a survivor. It is a piece of a world that is no longer here, but still lingers in memory. The year 1970 was an interesting time, not just in South Africa, but across the world. The pace of life was slower. Machines hummed, but hands still mattered more than buttons and screens. Men built things with effort, not with apps. And a coin, even a small 2-cent piece, had meaning back then. It bought things. It traveled. It passed from calloused hands to polished counters and back again. It felt real. Imagine for a moment a man walking home from a long day in 1970. The sun is low. His shirt sticks to his back. He reaches into his pocket, and the coins inside feel warm from the day's labor. Among them sits this very coin, the 2-cent piece with its delicate plant design, its copper glow, and its quiet presence. It wasn't special to him at the time. It was simply part of his daily life. But that's exactly what makes it special now. Coins like these were never meant to be rare jewels. They were never intended to sit in display cases. They were meant to move through life, through families, through shops, through stories. That is why collectors today find them fascinating. Because the coin doesn't just hold metal value. It holds human value, memory value. Think about your own past. Think about the coins you carried as a young man. The coins you used at the shop for a newspaper. The coins you gave to a child who asked for a sweet. The coins that clinked in your pocket when you walked to work. Over time, these small pieces of metal become symbols. They remind you of the world as it once felt. Not the world on screens, but the world in your hands. The South Africa 1972 cents coin carries that same feeling. Even its design reflects a different mindset. A simple plant, no grand portrait, no extravagant flourish. Just a quiet expression of a nation's identity printed into copper. Back then, beauty wasn't loud. Strength wasn't loud. And neither were coins. They were steady, reliable, and everywhere. Much like the men of that era. Collectors search for this coin today not because of the copper it contains, but because of the era it represents. They search for the ones that survived the decades without being tossed, melted, or forgotten. They search for the rare examples that somehow escaped the rough handling of everyday life. Those coins are few. Most were worn down, bent, or lost in time. But every now and then, one surfaces in surprising condition. And when it does, it becomes more than a coin. It becomes a relic. Picture yourself opening an old box from your younger years. Inside, you find forgotten memories. A faded photograph. A pocket knife you carried as a younger man. A matchbox from a place long gone. And then, at the bottom, a coin. You pick it up, blow the dust off, and suddenly you are not holding metal. You are holding a moment in time. A piece of who you were. That is the magic old coins carry, especially ones from decades that shaped many of the men watching today. The 1972 cents coin has a certain character to it. You can see the years on its surface, the journey in its edges. Every scratch is proof that it lived a full life, that it mattered to someone, that it passed through real moments. The older we get, the more we value these small symbols of yesterday. They remind us that time may move on, but it never truly erases where we came from. Collectors today have rediscovered the charm of this coin. not because it shouts for attention, but because it whispers history. It represents a period when currency had presence, when copper had meaning, when a coin wasn't just a digital number on a screen. It actually lived alongside you, in your pocket, in your daily life. And among all the examples that exist, very few remain untouched by time. Most have lived hard lives, just like the men of their era. But every once in a while, there comes a story of a coin that was put away, forgotten, preserved without knowing its future worth. A coin that never saw the scratches of circulation. A coin that somehow remained as crisp as the day it left the mint. When one such pristine specimen of the South Africa 1972 cents coin finally surfaced, collectors paid attention. Experts examined it. They looked at the shine, the details, the preserved lines of the design. They studied the condition. And then came the auctions. Whispered conversations among serious collectors. Competition. Determination. This wasn't just a coin anymore. It was a treasure that represented a vanished world. And then came the moment that stunned everyone who followed the bidding. The final price was like a bolt of lightning. Not thousands, not hundreds of thousands, not even millions in the way most people expect. The final sale price reached $26 million. Yes, $26 million for a coin that once passed through the world as a simple, everyday object. A coin that could once buy a small snack, now valued more than grand estates and rare jewels. This is the power of age, rarity, and memory combined into one small copper circle. This is the power of the stories coins carry across time. That if you enjoyed this journey, make sure you subscribed at the beginning. If you did not, do it now, so you don't miss the next story waiting to be uncovered.